So today I'm going to walk you through making this cute little trinket case designed by Dana Thwaites of Dana's Journey. She designed it to go inside the Bliss yoga bag. So here's Bliss. This is the one Dana made. And when you open it, there's a little bit of room at the top up here, and you could put jewelry in here or whatever you want, money, and then it just fits right there. And how cute is that? I love it. So this pattern is free, and I'm gonna walk you through making it really quick. This was my prototype to figure out how to write it. So it's not perfect, but by the end it will sit open, and it's very similar to making the Bliss yoga bag. So you'll need a 13 to 15 inch zipper. It will work with either size. A zipper foot is helpful, some binding for the top edge, something for your handle. I just used some scrap faux leather I had, a marking pen, a seam ripper, and of course cutting tools. Print off the pattern. This is a circle 5 3/4 inches across. That's what we'll be using. And then we're going to cut our fabric strips. You'll need, in the pattern download I list everything out, but 3.5 inches by 17 long. And you'll want a lining, and then the pocket which turns into, you'll need an exterior, and then you'll need the pocket which turns into the lining. You'll need 4 of the circles, 2 exterior, 2 lining, and also SF-101 or some kind of woven interfacing and fusible fleece. Okay, so we've got our pieces interfaced, the outside with the fusible fleece and the inside, which ends up being the pocket and the lining, with SF-101 woven interfacing. I haven't interfaced my circles yet because I wanted you to see what I cut. 2 SF-101, 2 fusible fleece, and then I'll cut my fabric squares in a minute. I'm running out of the same fabric that I used for this case, so I'm just going to make a scrappy one. And for the handle, I'm going to show you a fabric handle since a lot of people don't have vinyl or faux leather on hand. Just cut a piece that is 4 inches wide by 8.5 long. Interface it as best you can. I just use a scrap of 101. And fold in the long edges to meet in the center and press. Fold it again. Give that a good press, and then sew down each long edge. And we will use that as our handle. It'll be super cute. So go ahead and get everything interfaced and prepared, and then we will begin. And this doesn't take very long. Okay, so we are going to now make the zipper pocket. You're going to measure 1.5 inches over from whichever edge you choose. If you use directional fabric, you'll want to pay more attention, because the direction of the fabric when this trinket case is done is that way. So 1.5 inches from this edge in, 1.5 inches from each short end. Make an indication mark so you know where to stop the zipper box. And then 3/8 of an inch down or to the right from the first line. And this is on the wrong side, the interfaced side of the lining fabric. We're going to place this right sides together with the outer fabric and pin in place. You're going to sew exactly on that rectangle. Make sure your fabric on the outside is facing the right direction if you're using directional fabric. Sew all along this rectangle box, pivoting at the corners. Lift foot up, pivot, lift foot up, pivot. Okay, so now you've got your sewn zipper rectangle here, and what we need to do is cut down the center. So I use a ruler and a rotary cutter because I find it's easier, and I just go right down the center. And then I clip little, oh, those scissors are too dull. I clip little V-notches into the end and cut out those notches. That allows the pocket to turn better. And then you're just gonna fold the lining through the hole and back so that the wrong sides are together. And this takes a little bit. You'll need to use your iron. It takes a little bit of time to fold everything back. And I'm going to take this to my ironing board and finish this out, and I'll bring it back as soon as I'm done. Okay, so you've got your open rectangle, and you just pin that zipper into that window, making sure that your zipper is the entire length of the rectangle box. You don't want it to be short or you'll have holes on the ends. I like using these handbag zippers, the number 5s, because they're a little bit wider of a zipper tape, making it a bit easier to secure to the bag. As you can see, I used a lot of pins to hold this in place. We're going to sew with the zipper foot around the entire box, securing the zipper to this piece. And then afterwards, we'll trim the zipper. Got my zipper foot on, and I moved my needle over so it's not hitting the plate. And I'm just going to carefully sew right along here. It's helpful to use an awl or an awl, whatever, or just use your seam ripper. And don't zoom away here. I carefully am sewing over these pins, but it's probably best to just pull them out as you come up to them. I'm going to go all the way around. Okay, so the zipper is sewn in. Give it a quick test to make sure that it works. If it doesn't, just unpick and redo it. It's not the end of the world. And then we're going to fold this back and trim this away. And that way, when we sew these bits together, that zipper tape is not in the way. And do the same for this side. I always trim off those metal stays, because if you sew over those, it'll definitely break your needle. So now this is ready to be sewn together. And what we're going to do is sew just the exteriors, right sides together, keeping the lining away. You're not sewing the lining at this point. So put a pin in here to hold. The lining is folded away, and you're going to sew right down here at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so you've just sewn the exterior, right sides together, and there we are. So now for the interior, you're going to fold one of the sides a 1/4 inch under and just layer it over top that one, the raw edge one, so that then we will just sew down that edge to catch all the raw edges inside, and it'll be looking clean. So go do that, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so now we're coming up to the last few steps. You're going to turn this piece inside out and this is my inside, this is my outside. Here's my outside for the exterior and the inside. So you're gonna sew right sides together, so exterior matching to exterior. And I highly recommend using Wonder Clips to hold the circle in place. And I pin one side and I go to the other side and pin, and then I do the same. I do all 4 points first, and then I ease the circle into place. I don't get too bent out of shape about this stuff. Sewing a circle, it involves easing it. You have to have a certain amount of ease, and in my head I always think I have to be easy on myself too when I'm sewing circles. Just like insetting sleeves. Be patient with yourself. If you need to clip it and re-clip it several times, then do so. Not a race. Okay, so I'm almost there. We are going to sew, I put it in my machine like this, and we sew all the way around at a 1/4 inch seam, all the way around, and it just kind of slides under the plate like this. Nice and easy. And then we can bind it with pre-made binding for a really nice, clean finish. Oh. Train coming through. It's okay. Maybe you can teach me how to edit that out.
Thing is, you can't unless you want to do time lapse.
Ugh. Okay, we're just coming around here. There we go. Okay, so the correct way to put the binding on is to apply it, open it up, because when it comes in the package, it's going to look like this. So you need to open it up flat, put the skinnier edge, raw edges aligned at the top. I start it with folding this edge back a 1/4 inch and using clips. And I just clip it all around the top, and then when I come back to the end here, I'll overlap it a bit, and then we'll trim this away. And now we're going to sew in this ditch all the way around. Okay, it's sewn on, so now we're going to fold up. Some people like to give this a press. I would if it was a garment, but for a bag I usually don't. Fold it up, and then fold it over the raw edge to the other side. And I use clips again just to make sure everything is nice and neat. And then you'll sew along this inner edge right in here to catch it, and that'll give you a really pretty finished edge on the inside bottom of this little bag. Okay, there's the finished edge. Trim all your threads, isn't that pretty? So when the bag is turned right sides out, there's your outside bottom, and there's your inside bottom, and it's kind of hidden. It's not a big deal if you don't want to put on the binding, but it's just a little bit more finished. So now we'll do the top edge, and first we need to put on our handle. So on the pattern, I've created markings on each side to help you line up the handle. Just sew it down on each side, and then okay, for the top, once you've sewn on your handle, you're going to have your bag right sides out. It's a little bit different than the bottom. We will still attach it exactly the same. Pin all around, easing the circle to the bag. But on this one, instead of binding the inside, we will be binding the outside edge. And it just gives a cute little contrast pop of color. I really like the effect. I think it's super cute, and it's a little bit easier than trying to bind the inside. And it covers the raw edges of the handles too. Because otherwise you would have to tuck under your handle edges, which can totally be done if you prefer that. As with any pattern I put out, any tutorial, you make it work for you. Okay, so I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and sew all around that top edge, and then I'll be binding it with my pre-made binding, and we're almost finished. Okay, and again, like we did before, fold that raw edge in 1/4 inch, put the skinnier raw edge of the binding matching with the raw edge of the top all the way around, clip it in place, and then when you come back to the beginning, you'll be overlapping and sewing. And again, it's really easy. You just sew right in that ditch. Just as an extra little tip, when you have this handle, just clip it so that it's out of the way, so that when you're sewing on the binding, you're not going to catch the handle in any way. So I'm at the point where I've flipped up my binding, and now I'm going to fold it over the raw edge, and I will sew to finish this off. So the case is done. Just for extra measure, I put some fray check on the ends of the zipper to ensure they won't fray ever. You can also cover those with fabric if you want to. But here's the finished case. Trim all your threads, give it a good press, and how super cute is that? Perfect for all your little bits.